Have you ever had this where you're listening to an interview and you're just wanting to give your opinions, your views, your perspectives? They're asking you questions and you feel like you can answer the question in a very good way. You can write on the comments, you can say your opinion, and you say it again and again and again and again. And even if you're talking to the same people, they just never listen to you, never hear you, never understand you. And it's just so frustrating. I don't know what people are going to do when it comes to exposing me. I feel like right now you really are just waiting for me to die before doing anything, and that's horrible. I feel like I'm entrapped in some fucking prison that is literally a matrix prison. It's not controlled by me, but it's controlled by some demonic spirit that is just possessing people and making them mad. Like that's kind of how I see it, because that's the only thing that seems to make sense. I mean, unless it's just pure stupidity, pure arrogance, pure I'm right, they're wrong. I don't understand. To see people who seem so normal and so not insane, and then to hear them say things that you do not believe and you do not agree with, and you can give a good response, but that they are not seeing it that way. They're only able to see it from their own perspective, and there's nothing you can do to talk to them. I've had to cope with this for such a long time, and it's so frustrating to think that I'm still in the same bloody position that I was in 12 years ago. And it's just, I really want to punch these people. And I feel like if I wanted to punch these people, they would have absolutely no understanding as to where this anger comes from, because to them, they would just be like, I didn't know. and then it's just like, yeah. And the subject of abortion is just such a it's a big thing, because there's so many people that have had to grow up in the foster care system, in the abortion system. Even having a baby in America costs about $10,000, I've heard. And to think that you're forced to have it, don't want to have it. Anyway, this clip that I found where two people are arguing. One is in favor of abortion and the other one is not. And then you've got these two people that, again, all in favor, and just think, why would you want an abortion? I mean, that's against God. I mean, I don't know who God is, and I'm talking for someone that I know nothing about, but I'm not going to see it that way. I'm only going to see it as these people are insane. And so then it feels like you've got three people ganging up against one, and this lady does actually hit the woman out of anger, and I can actually understand it, because I'm thinking about all the suffering. This woman started talking about the abuse and slavery and stuff like that, and I feel like when she said that, she was actually tapping into a past life of something that she might have experienced, being born to someone who didn't want them, having them passed on to someone else, thinking that it's all a legitimate foster care system, only to be brought up as a slave. And the amount of slavery that unwanted abortion has caused, people having children because they don't want it or can't stop it, aren't allowed to have it, and then to pass it on. The amount of anger that something like this causes people is massive. And then to think that there's two mindless, soulless people that just sitting there being like, she wants to kill babies. I mean, that's horrible. I mean, she's a horrible person, and not have any ability to understand that maybe that woman was a slave for her whole life because her mum gave her up at birth and ended up fostering her to parents that basically just wanted a slave. The amount of times that has happened is huge. And the level of ignorance that exists in people to not realise the damage that it can cause. Okay, I'm sure there's a lot of good foster parents, I'm sure there's a lot of people who get fostered, have a lovely parent, have a lovely life, great. You're one of the lucky ones. And okay, there's probably more of the lucky ones now than there has been in the past. And, it's such a terrible thing. And a body is literally just like a box. A body is nothing more than a box. If you kill your box, your soul will enter into the matrix, rest in the sun for a bit, and then be judged and given a new body. And, it's not nice to know that your parents gave you up. Even if you have wonderful parents, to know that your parents gave you up, it's almost and it also prevents people from if someone's a really terrible person and they deserve to have a kind of terrible life, sometimes giving them to a bad parent is because they're similar. The Matrix has recognized that there's a similarity in the soul versus the parents, and therefore to think that you can just take the child and give it a much better life, maybe that's not what the Matrix deserves. And I feel like when people are given into good parents and they learn for the first time what their birth parents are really like, it might shock them and it might hurt them and it might think, oh my gosh, and I think the reason why it hurts them is because they think, well, this is what my life should have been, or my life should have been with this person. This is what the Matrix judged me as. So obviously I was a terrible person in my life, hence why I ended up with that person. And it's a horrible thing to live with, though, knowing that your parents rejected you. And even whatever, if it's good or bad, but just to think that there's some people that just have no understanding, and then to think that I can't even talk to these people about it. I would love to have a conversation with this guy about why he's so certain that killing a baby is wrong. I mean, why is it wrong if that child is going to grow up? I should call it a fetus. But it's true that it's a fetus and a baby. If it's in like the 8th month or something, I don't think there's anything wrong with killing something in the 8th month. If it doesn't have a birthday, then I don't see it as being born. If I had a child, I wouldn't actually celebrate until its birthday. If it's born and it's born alive, then I'll celebrate. But yeah, I think before that, it doesn't have a birthday, hence I wouldn't class it as being a person. I don't think the soul enters until the water breaks, or until the water is going to be forcibly broken. But yeah, I'm really, really wanting to know when people are going to start talking to me. And watching this is just a total reminder of what I want. I want a 40-day warning for when you're going to come. I'm assuming that there's going to be some false, the rapture's going to be on this certain day, and then there's going to be a lot of media promoting this person's dream or whatever. Maybe if she's a mild celebrity or something, I don't know. Just choose someone who wants to give some sort of, I had a dream that the rapture happened on this day, and that the rider, and then on that day, come and get me, and I'll meet AJ Miller, and then you can expose him as being the real Jesus, and just see how it is. And then I think I need to recover for a year. I want a nice holiday. I want a big group of people, well, not a big group, just a couple of people to take me. I could do some massage, I could earn some money, and I can go and have a nice holiday. But I don't want to do that. Why? Because I'm just going to be alone, and I'm just going to be questioning what people are doing about me behind my back. I'm going to be questioning why people are just ignoring me. I'm going to be watching videos and again just stressing out over why I can't talk to these people, and why so many people think it's fine to talk for God when they don't know who I am. And it's so stressful. I need to talk to them, because I feel like by them claiming, oh yeah, God says this, God says that, I can be like, no, that's not what I agree. I don't agree with that. That's not how I feel. So I like watching it on one hand, because them saying that I feel this way just gives me something to talk about. And if I'm not talking about anything, well, then I have nothing to do. So I there's good and bad in it. I understand that, but I really want to have a time out where I just go on holiday, stay in nice hotels, and then just occasionally have the odd conversation where you drag some of these, or convince some of these to walk into some sort of van, and then just have a one-on-one conversation with me, something that they can't actually put online. If I've taken down all my profiles or put them on a private setting, or even if I create some sort of second show, I don't know who's watching. I don't know how many people know about me, how many singers have accepted this sort of character role and are just playing up to the character role. I don't know. I don't know who knows about me. But if I had a show that kind of was just for people, or just I don't know, like I want to do something. I don't want to just do nothing. But I feel like part of me recovering is I need to recover first, and I need to talk to people, and to ask them why they think it's okay to talk for God when they don't know who God is. If you're planning on coming to me, I don't know, 40 days after Easter, and which is May, then 15 days is not long enough for me to want to get exposure. As soon as I start getting exposure, I'm not going to be able to do anything. I'm not going to be able to go on holiday. I'm not going to be able to do anything. And I think there's quite a lot of things that I want to do. I want to talk to people about why they're being so stupid. Anyway,
options. There's open adoption, closed adoptions. There's all types of different ways that people can go about this.
That's right. And adoption is such a beautiful thing. I mean, especially we as Christians know that we've all been adopted.
Amen.
And it's a beautiful thing, and adoptions.
We as Christians know that we've all been adopted. I thought God made you, so why would you be like, because you've been adopted by your birth parents or something? Is that how you say? I think it's very different. Being actually adopted is very different from having birth parents, and to think that you're the same is just terrible. That's terrible.
You know, we work with Lifeline Children's Services, and they do an amazing job in those open adoptions where almost the mom gets adopted too by the family, and it's wonderful to see, and it's such a beautiful thing. So you wonder, someone like this, what's her backstory? You know, what's she been exposed to? Why is she this willing to go to this extent to protect her own belief system?
Yeah.
And countless, literally, like countless stories. What happens in an abortion? Literally suck the life out of you. They're going to take the whole baby out. And as they should, because I shouldn't be a taxpayer paying child support and food stamps and WIC for
You
women
should be a
who never
taxpayer
wanted to
paying for a...
Exactly. But
I think actually the conversation came in. She started off being very calm. She got very angry at some point.
For profit or non-profit?
Well, they are a nonprofit, but there's a lot of clinics that aren't.
And the girl is just nodding her head no. It's like it's like
really make it seem like they want safe, legal, and rare abortion.
how many people can you think, or are you going to assume, will literally abandon their children with no repercussions from the state?
No, it's called safe haven baby boxes. We're at a fire station or hospital.
It's just-
You can leave your baby, and the mother doesn't have to do anything with it. But that's
so she's giving her the facts around safe haven, and the girl is just nodding her head no. It's like you're having information presented to you of like, no, you don't have to do this act. There are other options, and it's just not registering.
No,
Now, I would say the opposite. I would say that he is listening to this conversation and he's being one-sided, and he's only just saying, you know, there's baby boxes. That's an option. Why is she not listening to that? I mean, baby boxes, you put the baby in the box and then it goes to the state. Why is she not listening to that? And it's just like, no, you didn't listen. You didn't listen to what she says. Okay, this argument has actually, I've come on 4 minutes. This argument's been going on for 5 minutes already. So it did start off small, and she did start about talking about the problems of. She's mentioned quite a lot of problems with abortion and problems that it causes, and you know, parents being also a lot of money. There's a huge amounts of money going in when it comes to looking after, you know, is this person right? Is this person right? And there's a huge amount of money being made out of kids, and the social services are in a way trafficking kids, because I think a lot of them like to keep kids in foster care rather than, you know, if there's a parent that can or wants the child but can't do it or something, you know, that they keep them in foster care for as long as possible as a sort of way of trafficking the child and making money out of it. And you know, there's a huge long list of problems that can cause from it. And this woman was trying to explain some of the problems, and this guy who's watching this just said, but look, the woman in blue said baby boxes. So, and she's not listening. Baby boxes are a very good idea. And you know, why would she not listen when really he wasn't listening? He wasn't listening to the things. I don't know if I should really play the whole. Should I go? Probably. I don't know if I should go from the beginning.
And this is also not to endorse everything that Savannah has ever done. I don't know Savannah. I'm friendly with followers of Jesus standing up and speaking up for those who don't have a voice. So if you're new here, or if you're not new here,
yeah, so he constantly thinks he's standing up for Jesus and speaking for people who don't have a voice. Well, I'm Christ and I do have a voice, so he is not speaking up for my voice. He's just speaking up for his own
do me a
voice.
favor, hit that subscribe button. There's a huge percentage of the people that watch this channel, unfortunately, are not subscribed. Asking my thoughts on this. There was a woman named Savannah who I believe works with Live Action, and she was doing a man on the street interview, and it instantly escalated to violence. It starts off as this cordial. I'm not gonna play the beginning of it, but they start very friendly, and she's complimenting each other, and then it instantly turns into something that is violent. And I don't understand what else could be driving this besides some sort of spiritual demonic.
So yeah, that's his only explanation. The only explanation for what is going on is that this woman is being possessed by a demon, rather than think that maybe this woman has actually experienced some bad past where her mum rejected her, fostered her, and then she ended up in slavery and going through a whole lifetime of who is my parents, why did they do this to me, why have they done, the amount of core damage that it causes on people is going to bring out a lot of anger. And she does show a lot of anger. She does get very angry, and you can see it, and I'm on her side. I'm on her side because I feel like I'm channeling this energy that she's feeling, and I too just want to lash out. So and this guy who's he's looking at it, he just can't see it from that perspective. She said baby boxes, that would have solved it. So why is this woman getting so angry? I have no idea. If I could talk to him and say that the reason why she's getting angry is probably because she experienced this and she went through a whole lifetime of it, not just a couple of years, but a whole lifetime of being brought up by parents who didn't really like her because they're not her real parents, and they adopted her. And this is, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I don't want to say that all adoption is bad, but sometimes it can end up bad. And just to think that this guy just thinks that it's his job to judge her and say that she's getting angry because she's possessed by a demon, whilst she's the one who's not listening about how good baby boxes are.
Demonic paradigm. This is Savannah Craven Anto, I think is how you say it. She was doing an interview, and so like the temperature here is so interesting. The way this conversation starts and the way it ends, right? So if I play the beginning of this.
Interviews today.
I love your skin tone too.
Thank you. Such a good vibe.
Of course.
Well, awesome. So we're asking people's opinion today on...
So it starts very, very flattering and complimenting, and
probably because she is generally a nice person, but just the subject and the her supporting the idea of it doesn't matter, it's more important to be alive than to not be alive, when in reality, I don't know if this woman knows about reincarnation, but I feel like, well, it is the truth. It is the truth. Reincarnation is the truth. And if you kill a fetus, you're not killing a person. You're not killing a baby. That's not a life that's not going to exist. That soul is just going to go elsewhere, and it's just going to exist elsewhere. And that's the reason why...
all that sort of stuff. And then around the 4-minute mark, they get into this idea of adoption, and it quickly escalates into violence.
What are they afraid of?
Women don't know. They don't know what they're exposing their bodies to. A lot of people, especially behind there's a stigma.
But their options are going up. So they used to have this slogan where they said, safe, legal, and rare. That's what we want. Safe, legal, and rare. Until it was exposed that a lot of these facilities were requiring quotas. So the more each facility...
Okay, quote.
It's really annoying how they keep taking out the word abortion. What is wrong with the word abortion? It just escalates, and
visceral reaction to this.
Yeah.
I think it's just, this is a reflection of where a lot of people are with their mentality around this.
Well, it's why we go in these circular arguments, because when you really get down to confronting pro-abortion arguments, they don't have much to say except their emotions and belief.
That's it. They don't have much to say. I mean, I am very much in favour of abortion because I have a lot to say. And then to think that two people like this are just looking sophisticated, they've got nothing to say. You've got nothing to say. Your only argument was that there's nothing wrong with the baby box. That was your only argument.
Beliefs that as soon as you begin to unravel those, they get violent. They get, art.
Yeah, we get violent. Why? Because real people know how awful it is to be brought up by parents that can't look after them or don't like them, or that the problems that they have. I mean, my mum did want me for 3 years, but I kind of wish that, I don't know, maybe it would have been better if I would have gone to a foster care, because I don't get on with them. But I can relate to how it would feel to be brought up by bad parents, and then to also know that maybe these bad parents are only bad parents because they fostered you. I think that would just be an added insult to the whole, why couldn't they foster me to someone else? If you're given to your birth parents, you can't really insult the Matrix or God for putting you in that, because you have to accept that that's fair. But when it comes to people adopting you into certain situations. You know, maybe you got adopted when you were 8, maybe you were in foster care for 6 years because your parents did kind of want you but didn't kind of want you, and then you ended up being given to people who don't really want you, because at the same time not many people want to adopt an 8-year-old. Like it's less rare, it's more rare for a person to adopt an 8-year-old. So the younger the better, and sometimes social services can mess up and they can make mistakes and or give you to parents that end up molesting you or stuff like that. You know, things like this happen and real trauma is caused by it. And to think that these people are just being like, oh, these people are just driven by their emotions. That's all it is. I mean, it's just emotions. Emotions shouldn't be... Well, maybe these people have emotions because of real experiences that they've experienced, and they're feeling anger over, you know, real trauma that they have experienced. You know, you are not driven by your emotions, maybe because you've not had any of these dark experiences to feel emotion from, and that's why you're emotionless. This is what a robot is. Robots are emotionless things that don't care about others because they can't feel emotions. So you shouldn't... You know, if someone is getting emotional about something, it's probably because they've experienced some trauma in their past life. This is where trauma comes from. This is why I get quite emotional when it comes to yelling at people, because I haven't just gone through, you know, a couple of months of people being ignored. No, I've gone through 12 years of people being ignored. So I can get very emotional when it comes to people rejecting my religion, because I've had to put up with so much trash because of this happening. So it can bring out a lot of emotion, and then to just have people think, they're just driven by emotion. Nothing to it. There's no like smartness or intelligence behind these emotions. No, these emotions are driven by demons. I hate these people. I really do.
They start yelling, and so you never really come into a conversation about those, and so it's hard to...
You never come into a conversation. They get angry, and you just say, oh no, they're possessed by demons, because you don't want a conversation. I mean, yes, it's hard to have a conversation with someone that's yelling. I understand that, but it's sometimes people yell for a reason.
It's hard to have those conversations. We've seen that across the country, whether it's politics or whether it's life, and we're getting more and more difficult to actually have conversations and understanding other people's views.
Yeah, and this is
It's amazing. You're having a conversation with someone who agrees with your view about someone who doesn't agree with your view, and yet you both are just having a conversation with the same viewpoint that lady is crazy. This is not a conversation. This is two people agreeing with each other, just trying to back each other up and make that woman look crazy.
This is this lady's apology, which again, I'm still not sure if you can call it an apology, and I'm not sure why she isn't charged yet. But she says, to Savannah, I sincerely apologize, but cannot sit around and allow you to continue pushing this one-sided narrative. What? Anytime the word apology has the word but next to it,
Yeah.
that's no longer an apology.
It never works for my wife and I.
Yeah, it doesn't work in a marriage, doesn't work with your friends, doesn't work with your family. I understand hands being put on someone is never the answer, but throwing rocks and hiding hands is worse. So
in that video, I think I missed out a bit. In that video, she ended up like just slapping that person.
She said her view is very obstructed.
Yeah.
Wow, this is insane.
Understand the magnitude of have a baby. I should have the choice too.
Just don't have then. Just don't have.
It's not even logical.
It is. This.
Who are you, Nancy?
I sound dumb.
You
sound
do.
dumb as... Okay.
It does, because even as teens, people explore, and it's like as funny as you want to be, people should still have the choice.
So you went from saying that my outfit was really cute to saying I'm an effing idiot. That's so mean.
But I think that your view is very obstructed, and I think that you just don't understand.
She said her view is very obstructed.
Yeah.
Wow, this is insane.
Her view is very obstructive because there could be a lot of problems caused with having kids that you don't want, and yet having an abortion is actually, it means you don't have to go through a long pregnancy. It means you don't have to spend £10,000 to lie in a hospital bed for 24 hours. I don't know if they have a different charge for people that don't even want their kid. Do you still charge them £10,000 for a one-night hotel stay, a hospital hotel stay? I mean, or you know, I hate how, okay, yes, she is getting very angry, but I hate how these people are just like, wow, can't believe she's like this. Oh my God, she's so awful.
Understand the magnitude of having a child.
Yeah, well, I'm not the one who admitted they would be okay with killing babies in foster care and children that have been abused.
That's not the point. What I'm saying.
That's really...
Oh my God.
There was one point in the scene where she just where the woman was just like, oh, so is it okay to kill children as well? And she said just yes. But I think I would say something like that. You know, if I say it's fine to kill fetuses, and then someone assumes that because I say it's fine to kill fetuses, they just assume that it's fine to just walk into a hospital, into a foster care system and just kill a bunch of 8-year-olds. You know, if people assume that me killing a fetus is the same thing as killing an 8-year-old, you know what I would say? I would say yes, I think they should die. Why? Because if you were that 8-year-old in a foster care, I think you should die, because obviously you're a moron for thinking that killing a fetus is the same thing as killing an 8-year-old. And it just, if someone thinks of you in such a low way, that because you think it's fine to kill a fetus, you also must clearly think that it's fine to kill 9-year-old, 10-year-old. You know, I would get very angry at something like this. And I would feel like, well, this person is obviously a moron. And if the world is full of people like this moron, then yeah, I think they should die, because obviously there's a bunch of morons in this world who can't tell the difference between a 6-month fetus and an 8-year-old. I mean, if you have such a low view of me, and if you think that all I want to do is just kill as many kids as possible, then I hope that I do kill as many kids as possible. Why? Because it means that there are people in this world that think like you. And if there are people who think like you and think that I can't tell the difference between right and wrong, then really I think you're the one who can't tell the difference between right and wrong. And, you know, if a world is full of horrible, disgusting people, I want these horrible, disgusting people to die. Now, if someone thinks that me thinking that a 6-month-old fetus is the same as an 8-year-old child, if people like that think that me thinking one thing is the same as me thinking the other, then I think that this world is full of horrible, nasty people who just assume the worst in everyone. In fact, not even just assume the worst in everyone. I would not think that if you want a 6-month fetus to die, that means you also want 8-year-olds to die too. I mean, I would not think that for a second. But if you're someone who would think that they are the same things, then yeah, I do want lots and lots of people to die, because this is just evidence that this world is full of messed up, stupid robots. And a robot is basically just like a carcass, and a soul is something that lives inside the carcass. But if the soul is so stupid as to think that a fetus and an 8-year-old are the same things, then you're stupid, and you're just a robot it's in artificial intelligence. That's what it is. It's artificial intelligence, and these people are just sat there just having no clue. They're insulting her for not understanding, when really they're not listening. How are you listening? How are you listening? If I was to speak to these people, I would say that she's right. A fetus is just a carcass, and it dies. So if it dies, the soul will just go elsewhere. So you haven't killed a life, because it's not alive yet. So for something to be alive, it's got to have a birthday, and if it doesn't have a birthday, then it therefore isn't alive. And that's how I would want it to be seen. And it's just really annoying how so many people are just stupid. So many people are stupid.
So wow, she, proceeds to, she assaults this lady. And I think what it was that I think she was cornered, and she realized how incoherent this is. And that's usually
that's usually what happens. She hit him because she realized how stupid she was. No, she realized that this woman had just said that her keeping a fetus alive is the same. Her wanting to kill a fetus is the same thing as her wanting to kill an 8-year-old. So if someone believed that me saying one thing means that I hate them, and I want to attack them for thinking so low of me, and therefore to have other people just be like, oh no, she attacked him not because she realized how horrible this person was, but she attacked this person because there's a demon in her, or because she knew she was wrong, and she knew she's a horrible person. But I'm not a horrible person. I'm the one that's listening. I'm the one that's understanding. I'm the one that's getting everything, when really, no, you're not getting anything.
Have these sorts of conversations, people discover their own incoherent worldview.
Right.
They're like
he has an incoherent worldview, and he hasn't discovered it.
None of that makes sense.
Right.
None of that makes sense. And so
the idea that a fetus is just a fetus and their soul just goes elsewhere if it dies. That is something that he is not acknowledging. He is not accepting that is the truth.
I think this is wrong, and I hope this lady gets charged. I understand the visceral reaction to this.
Yeah.
I think it's just, this is a reflection of where a lot of people are with their mentality around this.
Well, it's why.
But you're, of course, not willing to understand it or try and understand why people might get so angry over something like this. You know, that you're not understanding the damage that something can cause about having kids, or the problems that it used to cause, e.g., you know, it used to, people used to insult people that had abortions, make them feel guilty, make them feel bad, make them feel like a murderer, when really they just didn't want to get pregnant in the first place.
Why we go in these circular arguments, because when you really get down to confronting pro-abortion arguments, they don't have much to say except their emotions and beliefs. That is.
Well, what do you have much to say? What do you have much to say? Just your beliefs, your belief that it's wrong. That's all you're saying.
And they walk into a Planned Parenthood and take the life of their child, and they walk out with the same issues that they had walking in. So
What are you talking about? No, they've just changed their whole life for the better. They don't have to spend every day looking after a child. Child need 24-hour care. You know that. You need to wake up like five times in the night or something because they cry and they need to go and that need nappy changes. You know, does he even look after his own baby, or does he just have a wife and expect the wife to do it? Like I can't. He doesn't look like a very hands-on baby 24-hour character. Does he even know how much problems and how hard it is to raise a child? And to think that you can go into an abortion clinic, have an abortion, you come out the same. It hasn't changed your life. You haven't just saved yourself from nights and nights, endless nights of misery, having to raise a child that you can't afford. Maybe you're living in a studio flat and you don't have the space. You haven't just saved yourself from a whole life of suffering over having to look after a child you can't afford. No, you've just come out the same. I can't understand
I think if this woman wants to be...
It's not pro-life. This is not pro-life. This is pro-suffering. This is, I don't give a shit about the damage that the child is going to cause on your life. I only give a shit that this life is born and that you're made to suffer for the consequences, and that your baby is also going to suffer the consequences because you are not in the right position to be able to look after a life. Mad
about something. She should be mad about the fact that Planned Parenthood's only solution is taking the life of the child.
No, I'm mad that people like this believe that they are righteous. People like this say what the shit they think, and they don't give a shit about the truth. This is not the truth. What he is saying is not. It's not a good argument, and I'm getting too emotional that I can't.
Where are they at wanting to help a mom? If the same women that I mentioned earlier, that statistic, 76% of these moms who are heading to the clinic, they're on their way, tell us they would prefer to parent. Where is the conversation about that with this woman? How about let's help moms? Let's care for them well. Taking the child...
They don't. They don't. The state doesn't have enough money to care for... Babies are expensive, and they don't have enough... There are way too many people. The reason why so many... I know why it is, actually. You're obviously one of the morons that don't have a life. And you know that if there were less people in the world, you probably would not be a human. Maybe that is the reason why. That's my guess. If you are pro-life, I think what you actually mean is that you want as many babies to be born as possible, because you know if the population was to be reduced, your soul will be going back to being an animal, and you don't want that to happen. So you want to encourage as many people as possible to have kids, so that you have a better chance of coming back as a human. Otherwise, you're going to go back into the animal pool. Maybe that's the reason why these pro-lifers are on the side that they're on. That to me makes sense. But yeah, they haven't recognized that this is why they are so pop out as many babies as possible, because that gives me more chance of coming back. Maybe they haven't realized that that's the reason. I'm going to stop this video. It's getting a bit long.